Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I am delighted to be here today. I'm Leda Kamenopoulou, and I'm Associate Professor at UCL's Institute of Education and author of the recently published book, Inclusive Education for Learners with Multisensory Impairment, otherwise known as deafblindness. With my work on inclusive education, with the books, the blogs, the papers that I write, with my research, and the lovely students I teach and supervise, I help break down barriers for all these children who are underrepresented and vulnerable because they lack access to equitable quality education. I am here to talk about one of the aspects of my work that I absolutely love, which is accessibility and inclusion for deaf-blind children in the global South. I am here to remind us that the incredible and rapid progress we are making in achieving inclusion and accessibility in education and the wider society must not leave behind all those less researched and less well-known disabilities and contexts. I'm saying less well-known because, or less mainstream, because a long time ago, when I was still fresh and embarking on my doctoral studies, I was perhaps one of two other people, maybe three, in England, or even the whole of the UK, voluntarily choosing to study deaf-blindness, children, and inclusion. There's more of us today, luckily, although the field remains small with very few experts worldwide. A lot more research needed and proper investment in this research is needed. Everyone knows about vision impairment or blindness, hearing impairment or deafness. I'm not too sure everyone has heard about deaf-blindness, or that they know what it means, or how complex it is. So I've been given this incredible platform, and those who know me know that I never miss the chance to share some key facts about deaf-blindness that have huge implications on our work on accessibility. One of my biggest frustrations, at least work-related, is when people hear deaf-blind, they think it means completely deaf and completely blind from birth. We all know the classic, we all have the classic Helen Keller example in mind. In fact, to illustrate how poorly understood deaf-blindness still is, around 2 or 3 years ago, there was a conspiracy theory on TikTok, of all places, doubting the existence of Helen Keller. They were not doubting the fact that she was deaf-blind, they were doubting the fact that she was a deaf-blind person who had also written books. So, fact number 1, congenital and total deaf-blindness does exist, but it is extremely rare. And the vast majority of children and adults with deaf-blindness do have some vision and or hearing they can use. And so there is vast diversity within the population of deaf-blind people. So deaf-blindness is therefore best understood as a spectrum, and deafblind people may use a huge range of communication methods and assistive technologies. Fun fact number 2, the most common cause of deafblindness acquired later in life is aging, deterioration of vision and hearing because of old age. So if you think this one is not for you, you may want to think again. It can happen to anyone. The third fact I've been fortunate enough to explore in detail with my work is that when the environment is inaccessible, physical or digital environment, deafblind people are excluded from life because they face barriers with communication, acquiring information, and independent mobility and orientation. The World Federation for the Deafblind, in their latest report, stress that accessibility requirements are central to the inclusion, participation, independence, and autonomy of persons with deafblindness. But Pascal raised a very interesting point in his talk just now about fragmentation and voices that are not being heard. So here's the thing. Because deafblindness is a spectrum, this is the fourth fact. No two deafblind children or people are the same. Each one of them is completely unique. To put it simply, deafblindness is an invisible disability because there's no way we can know how well a person sees or hears. There's no way we can know how they experience the world unless we ask. So, deciding on accessibility requirements based on a label will not work. Asking them and keeping an open and creative mind will. This is why it's so crucial to work with deafblind people to develop policies, research agendas, and best practices. But whose voices are we missing? Whose voices do we particularly need to pay attention to? Unfortunately, most research on deafblindness has been in the global north, namely UK, US, Canada, and some Nordic countries. I've been able to locate a few international studies and a couple from Asia and South America. However, the fourth fact is that we know almost nothing about how deafblind children in the global south access or not education, health, and social care. What barriers do they face? What support do they need to enable their participation and inclusion in contexts that are underprivileged and resource poor? Like, for example, Colombia, one of the countries where my research adventures have taken me, and where the complex intersections between disability and other forms of disadvantage, such as gender, race, and poverty, have been shown to shape children's developmental outcomes and life chances. How does a deafblind girl of Afro-Colombian descent, who may also have been forcibly displaced multiple times, access and navigate the education system? And how can we identify low-cost solutions, easy wins that can be easily applied across the North and South? These are some of the questions that my current work is seeking to address, And unfortunately, I don't have more time to go into the details, but if you're interested, by all means, contact me, email me, come and talk to me. I'm always happy to chat. So, to address the question, what next for disability innovation? I connected online yesterday and I watched the opening address and quite a few other talks. And I was overjoyed to hear all the good work happening worldwide. I was mostly overjoyed that others on here, including Professor Holloway, agree with my vision. My vision is that as we move forward in our collective journey towards making the world a more accessible, a more inclusive, a more beautiful place, my vision is that we will also make it a more equitable place by bringing in more voices at the table, by including those with lived experiences and from neglected contexts, and this should include all these children who are being left out and forgotten. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.